possibly go down. You know,
Yeah.
in terms of MCing though, and like doing beats, dude, we starving artists. I'm at the point now, like, dude, I started up like with like no money, like copping like just bootleg stuff, or people let me borrow like 4 tracks and stuff like that. So like, you don't need a lot of money to start up and make your own beats. Don't get it twisted with these like $1 million equipment and stuff like that. I always tell people, start simple, because when you learn the basics, you can also learn how to make stuff on like the really bigger equipment. And to be honest, I've seen people with like $1,000, $1 million equipment, and their beats is trash because they don't know what they're doing. It's so complex. They didn't start out basic. I started out with a 4-track and a sound edit program on a Mac.
Yeah.
Mac Sound Edit. I couldn't even chop. I could like reverse, put the back beat to the front.
Right.
That's all I could do, and the
Right.
front to the back. But I understood the basics, the logic behind that. It's not like the equipment, it's your ear, and if you got the heart for it, man, it's your passion. That's what really belongs. So
That's what's real talk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, who got you into spinning, man? Like, who was some of your inspirations?
oh man, there was actually this white boy named Steve, man.
Yeah.
Actually, born and raised in Jamaica Plains, Boston, man.
Okay.
And that was the first time I was really getting into beats. And he had like the Tascam 4-track. Let me get into that. And then he was the DJ first.
Right.
And then I just started like, learning how to mix and like kind of scratch and stuff. So, but yeah, of course, Premier, Pete Rock, Marley Marl, Grandmaster Flash, man, and to put it down, since I seen him live, Jazzy Jeff, hands down.
Everybody said that. Yeah. If you ain't seen Jazzy Jeff,
I mean, he's like,
you need to see him.
from what I hear, the inventor, but definitely the master of the Transformer, so
Man.
when that came out, yeah.
Alright,
So.
I'm sure you got hyped during that part when he was transforming.
Oh, yeah.
That's definitely a crowd control trick. So, like, I got, some of the things you do to control your crowd, like keep them mellow, get them hyped. What's some of the things you
it depends on like the atmosphere. To be honest, when I'm DJing, I get in my own mind state, and I'm at the point like, don't come up to me and ask for requests. And it's
Right.
like on some arrogant or like I'm trying to be an asshole. No, it's just like I'm trying to expose you. And like, to be honest, man, I try to hit them with like some unreleased or really stuff that I always listen to, but the average person may not have may not have heard, because if you listen to radio and television nowadays, you're not gonna get the real shit, and that's point blank. Period. I'm gonna tell you that. So you gotta just search. Thank God for the internet. To be honest, because you can always put your stuff out there. So I try to hit them with some like unreleased soul, hip hop, some good stuff. Even old school though, man. I'm a fan. Mad respect for the pioneers who came before us.
What's one of your preferred genres that you out when you spin and you like really get into deep kind of?
Hip hop, soul.
That's what's up.
Yeah, hip hop and soul. Point blank. Period, man. Yeah, just.
Alright. Well, when you spin it, what's some more important things like you kind of focus on? You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of cats, they'll watch crowds, or they'll make sure that all the equipment is kind of in order so that you got easy access or whatever to it. What you kind of like, look out for, when you spin it?
I look for the bobbing of the heads from the crowd, man.
Yeah.
When I'm spinning, I try to play something that has a message,
Right.
or slept on, or definitely like that deep soul, or a remix you didn't know it was a remix, just try to put them on to something new. So yeah, that's really what I look for, the bobbing of the heads. And even if you aren't, I could really tell, I could really read energy, and feel the crowd and stuff. And sometimes, Bob Marley said, don't always let the crowd dictate you. You dictate the crowd, because sometimes, you got to think about the crowd as part of society, so as you. So they might be programmed.
Right.
So you might be thinking they ain't feeling you, and in some conscious way they are, well, they'll get discouraged.
Right.
Even my performances real quick, man, in terms of rhyming, like, in Atlanta and stuff, like, damn, you be like thinking like, man, these cats ain't like, all rowdy. You know, at the end of the night, they be like, damn, you spit. You're like, yo, you nice, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, don't always think like blank faces, like they're really trying to listen, you know, and interpret it. You know, so don't think because they're not up on jumping all on the stage that they ain't with you. So that's one of the things I learned and stuff, and to be humble, definitely, you know.
I feel that. All right, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, you think, though, building off that, you think, you know what I'm saying, it's just like, it's easier. Like, so I'm assuming that you're more of a cerebral MC. Like, you more or less deal with, you know, flipping, you know, and like more or less in the griot type fashion.
Right.
More so than like a chant call response, like a go-go type MC.
Right. You know what's so crazy is I actually been listening to more like the reggae responses and even go-go though too, man, because the point of an MC, master of ceremony, you know, move the crowd. You know, you definitely have to keep the crowd in order. You know, yeah, man, I was just like, you know, I want to spit, but I always make sure I'm crystal clear when I'm spitting, you know. You gotta definitely get the crowd, and anything I perform though, like I may do something that's like a little deep, you know, but I try to get them hyped though too, and you know, and get them ready for something that, you know, they can really think about. So, you know, you get them hyped, but nah, you're right, I'm more of a cerebral MC, more lyrical, definitely more conscious, but I'm not like a fool neither, man. It's like you can't just spit like 48 bars. And, you know, like even me, it's like, that's ridiculous, you know. I was like, I get tired of that too, man. You can't be like lyrical. You got to get something to get, you know, the people caught to. And my thing is like, I don't have a problem with that. It's like, I just won't compromise who I am to do that. I do some hot shit, and I was like, maybe the people will catch on, but I'm not gonna just like straight up make a blatant radio joint. Now, if it happens to get on the radio, hey, that happens. And that happens with mad groups that are you know, really good and creative. So, you know.
All right, well, you know what I'm saying? Basically, you know, when you spin it, you know what I'm saying, some people kind of, you know, might be a little rigid, like how you were just speaking, like, you know, you might play some stuff to try to open the crowd's mind up. But you know, might just come from your selection, or you might have some joints that you know, might have some joints that are pretty hot that are by some people who are more well known.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So you strike like, you know, any type of balance maybe or anything with that, like, or
you know what? I actually, yeah, I try to. I listen to everything, man. You always got to keep your ear to the street, whether you like it or not. You know, one thing I was watching a DJ Premier interview, and he was just like, you know, I don't have no problem with that. You know, stuff that's out on the radio and on BET 106 Park, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, that's not me. Right. You know, and that's how I feel. Like, dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, I always, don't get it twisted. Just because I do like some real hip hop shit, some soul stuff, vintage, even roots, dub hop type of vibe. Don't think that I don't listen to radio or I don't like, you know, of course, Biggie. Come on, man. Tupac is like, you know, the difference is the stuff that I listened to that was underground was actually what was on the radio at the time. The problem is now you gotta like cater a certain way to the audience and there's no balance. But there is some hot stuff still on the radio, man. You got Outkast, you got, you know, they ain't been out in a minute. Well, yeah, yes and no. You know, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, you know, so there's always a balance. And, you know, you got some good peoples out, John Legend, you know, Estelle, some different vibes and stuff. So there's always something out there to always peep. But my thing is, don't always rely on the radio. That's all I'm saying. Like, you know, there's always something else out there. So.
All right. Well, you know what I'm saying? We're going to end on that note. You got any last comments and shout outs you want to send to your peoples? Break it down. Man,
I want to big up Sound Therapy, big up Love Noise, you know, check for Elevation, you know, myspace.com/Bronx Titan. Check me out. Got beats, you know, for days, you know, getting this album together. 2009, this is time, just turned 30. No doubt. Dirty 30s. And I'm out, man. Thank you. Give thanks. Peace.
Peace.
One.